You're recording? Nice.
Welcome, Panem, to the glorious reaping of District 12.
They got her look pretty well, Drusilla, with a plastic surgery face.
Twice the number of tributes.
All right, pause right here. Okay, so it's funny to mention. So here, what's up at Styles? And for the second episode of Pack Cinema, I have Scuffed here, a friend of mine. And yeah, what's up? We are literally reacting to Sunrise on the Reaping. And it's a movie that we've been definitely waiting for a while. I mean, personally, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is the prequel before this, telling the story of Snow during the 10th annual Hunger Games. It was an okay movie, but it wasn't anything like Catching Fire. Catching Fire is definitely the best book, best movie in the original Hunger Games trilogy. But I don't deny the viability that the other two movies, the other two books, and the other three movies had. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes had a solid start, although kind of the third act of the movie was a little bit boring to me, unless you count Casca Highbottom, the creator of the co-creator of the Hunger Games, technically, because Snow's father was also the other creator, but he was discredited. That's why Snow was kind of alienated by Highbottom. Highbottom is played by Peter Dinklage, so like he literally is addicted to Morphling, and he gets killed at the end of the film because Snow poisoned his vial. So, but this is jumping. So that was the 10th anniversary of the games. This is the 50th. So jumping 40 years into the future, and rather 24 years before the events of the first Hunger Games book. This is the 50th year. And if you don't know the quarter quell rules that apply, this is the second quarter quell. The first one, with only 25 years under the belt of the country of Panem, was basically you would be voting for who would be reaped. So people get to vote for their tributes. The third quarter quell, which was the one in Catching Fire, it's the reason that Katniss and Peter were in that game as well as the 74th is because that one reaped candidates from existing victors. So, but this by far is the bloodiest games. It is the second quarter quell, the 50th anniversary of the country. It is Haymitch's games, and obviously we know the outcome of the games considering he's the one who survives, but it reaps twice the number of tributes. So instead of one male and one female from each of the 12 districts, it's two of each, two male, two female from each of the 12 districts, so 48. So four members of each district in total, and 48 people on the battlefield, basically, in the arena. And I mean, honestly, like, what does this setup look like to you? Like, looking at the cornucopia and the setup. Bro, it literally looks like Midsummer, yeah. Yeah. I think I wouldn't be surprised if that was what they were going for. And I've read, the book Sunrise on the Reaping is a really good book. I almost compare it to, it's definitely better than Mockingjay, if I'm being honest. It's the most tragic book in the series, in my opinion, besides Mockingjay. Because Mockingjay, there is loss, but the difference between Katniss and Haymitch is that Haymitch literally has nobody at the end of this book, this movie alone. He literally loses everything. And Snow, like, here's the thing. Snow, when he's Donald Sutherland, who plays Snow in the original trilogy, he's very collected, calm, reserved, and he promised to never lie to Katniss. Whereas the one that RalphFiennes plays, he plays like Voldemort in Harry Potter. He's in a few other things. He's in a movie called The Menu, which is really good. But his Snow is supposed to be the most tyrannical, the most volatile, the most aggressive version of Snow. So even more so than, I believe Blythe is the guy who plays Snow in Songbirds and Snakes. So, but this has got to be the most violent movie, the most violent book in the entire series. So, but yeah, it's definitely giving Midsummer. I mean, honestly, what would you do in this situation if you were up against 47 other people? Run behind. Dude, it's literally like the trees are over there. I mean, it's kind of a walk. It's kind of a run, more like, but you'd be lucky if you lived at all. I mean, you're going to be extremely lucky. The odds are literally not in your favor, is what I would say. And it's like, I mean, 48 is close to 50. So basically, your odds are less than 2%, if anything, of winning. So that's the problem. This is what Haymitch literally said to Katniss before she entered the arena for the 74th games. There will be a bow there and arrows. Do not go for them. Go for supplies and find water, is what he tells. Well, more importantly, go for water. It's a bloodbath, is what. And obviously, he's saying this from personal experience, considering that twice the amount of people died. I would not be and in the book, I mean, this is not really a spoiler, but he does go for a weapon and he does hit some supplies. He makes it out barely alive, I will say. There are certain people, even a member of his own district actually dies in the initial bloodbath. There are 3 other tributes that are from his district. What is it? Maisley Donner, Wyatt Callow, and then Luella, I think, is the other. And Luella, actually, I think she gets killed during the chariot. She like falls off her chariot or something like that. If I can recall, I'll have to reread the part, but she dies, and then they replace her with an alternate, and then they call her Lulu or whatever. And nobody seems to notice except for, like, you know, I guess us as the reader and maybe a handful of people. The other 2, I mean, like, Maisley Donner is probably she would have been likely to survive had she not experienced like what went on in the games. Like, she died very tragically. And then Wyatt Callow was the one I who died in the initial like bloodbath on the day 1 protecting Lou. So, but he was like a compulsive odds maker, or at least I believe his father was. I think he was, yeah. But he certain people would bet on these games, obviously, and you know, mainly people at the capital, District 1, District 2, District 4, the career districts. But obviously, there hadn't been a winner in District 12 since Lucy Gray in District 10, although Snow cheated. So, more on that, I mean, for another time when we get another trailer. But, yeah. Any thoughts on that? Yeah, it's been a while. It's very I would say, I mean, where do you think the Hunger Games, or like even football, or like it comes from gladiatorial combat. It's what, I mean, the Romans did, right? So I mean, this is just, it's no different. You're not, and they even put animals. They put what they call mutations. So mutts, basically amalgamated, hybridized animals that they make to either kill or to divert people from certain areas. So they do it, yeah. Yeah, the tracker jackers, yeah. Yeah, the Jabberjays are another one. What else? You had like the dog ones, you had the lizard ones, and Mockingjay. There are a ton of them. There are quite a few, and this, I heard in this sense, what they were going for is Deadly Paradise, which is what they were going for. That's why the Midsummer setup is like so insane. I'm glad that they've color coded the robes so we know who's from which district. So obviously, District 1 is yellow because of luxury items, and then all the way to District 12, which is black because of coal miners, right? So Haymitch and some of his fellow, and all of his 12 his fellow District 12 tributes are wearing black. So yeah, but that's kind of all I got. So it's onward.
Twice the glory.
It's not worth it. Yeah, so that's the clone. That's the doppelganger of Luella. Oh wait, actually, pause here. So wait, if you go back, so that's Haymitch, by the way, but the one right in between. Pause here. Yeah, that is Beatty Ladier's son, Ampert. Ampere. Yeah. Obviously, knowing the outcome, you can kind of like why Beatty is, and he's from District 3. That's why they're wearing like a teal color. Yeah, so he loses his son in these games, and actually Ampere actually forms a temporary alliance. So because the careers, the districts that are the richest or were the most combative, they've been training the games for their whole lives. They actually volunteer on purpose to do it, to bring pride to their district. District 3, on the other hand, so they invent a lot of the technology. but they're very poor too. Not as poor as 12, 10, or 11 or anything like that, but they are, moderately not as rich as like District 1 and 2 and 4. But he forms, so the career pack is what that alliance is called. He temporarily forms something called the Newcomers, which dissipates very quickly, obviously because the tributes don't really stand a chance. But it's kind of sad to see that like certain characters are actually related to the ones that we know in the original trilogy, because BD is actually in Sunrise on the Reaping, a younger version of him. So are other tributes like Mags and Wyrus. But we'll see how it plays out. I mean, whether the movie will do his image justice or anybody else's. So I mean, they got a great casting, pretty much. Yeah, we got Haymitch.
It's time for the second quarter quell.
Yeah, that's Maisley. Yeah, me too. That's Wyatt Callow right there. All right, here we go. Go. Yo, District 1 did him dirty, both of them. All right, pause here. You gotta pause here. You gotta go back to that. Yeah. Okay. Right here. Dude, and we were expecting, like, his character is so complex. Snow is the most complex character in the entire franchise. So we have yet to... This is his most violent state. Keep in mind, he suffered a lot in the first... Like, the first in sequence, anyway, with the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. With his days of being a peacekeeper in District 12, but also him getting his rise in government and becoming, the tyrannical president that we know as President Snow. So, and he's already sporting the white rose, as you can see. So he has kind of already embraced the embodiment of who he is, pretty much, at this point. So, I mean, yeah, they got a really stacked cast. I might as well say, like, because they got everybody pretty much spot on. It was kind of a combination of movies and some of the books. Because, like, Haymitch, for example, I believe, yeah, because he was from the poorest part of District 12 called the Seam, and none of the people in that area had blonde hair. So, like, PETA actually in the original trilogy is from one of the wealthier. Well, I don't want to say wealthier because the least poor part of District 12. So, but those guys had blonde hair, right? That's why Katniss's mother was blonde. It was because she was from that area, whereas Katniss's father was from the Seam. He was a coal miner. That's how he died. So, but yeah, no, this is a game changer. So yeah, definitely continue. That's Plutarch. We got Lenore Dove. And that's the Flint Striker right there. And that's Effie Trinket, who's played by ElleFanning.
I think these games are going to be different.
It's Woody Harrelson. I was waiting for you to realize that. I love it because they did the same thing with the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. They did it with Snow. They're like the things we, what is it? It's the things we love most that destroy us. Something like that effect. And it gave me chills whenever they played a quote from the original trilogy. Haymitch said, "I think these games are going to be different. I think in Catching Fire with the next quarter quell." Because here's the thing. Out of the people that were reaped in Catching Fire, Katniss was the only one who was the female tribute. So it was just, 100% certainty that she was going to be the tribute. When it came to the males, the only two males to win the district to win the Hunger Games were Peeta Mellark and HaymitchAbernathy. And Haymitch was reaped, but Peeta volunteered. He said, if he does that, then there's nothing I can do. And Peeta volunteered. So that's why he was in those games. But could you imagine winning one quell to be in another? Like, not to mention you're an alcoholic at that point. He was an alcoholic for the entire trilogy, except for like the last part of Mockingjay. And it's just, can you blame him? Like, he would have been very traumatized like after this stuff. Like it's no different to people who've been in like combat. If they were in Iraq, Kuwait, Syria, like, you know, there are people, I mean, in World War One, I mean, shell shock was a thing. People were institutionalized for this kind of stuff, and they were subjected to cruel methods like electrotherapy and shock therapy, like just, I don't know, lobotomies and whatnot. Like that stuff traumatizes you, not to mention like, you know, being deployed. But this is like completely different, obviously, but this is what I would refer to as ritualistic sacrifice, because like Midsummer, it's very cultish, but it's also, I mean, it's the goal is to literally sacrifice to a greater cause, but it's more or less just to satisfy the desires of man. So it's, I don't know. It's what keeps people in check. I mean, Hobbes is very certain about that when he says that government is the only thing that keeps people on their toes. But definitely not like this. Definitely this incites violence rather than quells it. No pun intended. Oh wait, no wait, that's the same trailer. Yeah, yeah. But JosephZada or Zada, I think, or yeah, he's a really good actor from what I've seen in the trailer, and I think there was one other project I've seen him in. But I think we got a good cast. So, yeah, there was that other... I think I already sent you the link. So we're going to look at actually one more reaction. It's the Daily Wire commentator Isabel Brown, who's psyched about it just as much as we are.
Team Old Spice is coming into the pits.
Right after this Old Spice commercial.
They have dropped the new Hunger Games trailer. I literally just saw this as soon as we stopped recording, and I have to blind react to this. I love The Hunger Games. I am a voracious reader. I always have been my entire life. Like family road trips, I would just be reading in the backseat, and I couldn't hear people as they were talking to me because I was so engrossed in the book. I waited kind of weirdly long to read the Hunger Games books until I was a freshman in high school, like 7 months after they came out. The last
yeah, I read them at 14, I think.
All of them in 1 weekend.
So I was like in the 8th grade when I read them.
In Phoenix. I'm obsessed. So good.
Oh, bro, you got to read the books, man. You got to read the book before the movie.
What happens when we have too powerful and too authoritarian of a government in the United States?
I've read those too. I love the Maze Runner, man.
Basic, freedom.
You know, they should really make those prequels. The Kill Order and the Fever Code.
They have dropped the Sunrise on the
And then they also have the Maze Cutter sequels.
About the 50th annual Hunger Games.
That just came out, yeah.
Hunger Games.
It's a book, The Maze Cutter, yeah. It's Fry Pan is like he's literally cranking 90s. Like he's like 90 something years old, and he's retelling the story of like Thomas and everybody. They're all dead because of old age, but it turns out the flare evolved, and the cranks have grown more resilient, and they're a threat to the island. So that's the premise.
Welcome, Panem, to the glorious reaping.
Dude, the way she looking at the trailer, like that's literally like when I saw this, I'm like, yes, we finally have another. This is like one of the instances, and Harry Potter was very bad at doing this with Fantastic Beasts, but this is a good example of why certain prequels are necessary, and I think this was.
Twice the glory.
You want to bet she's gonna say it looks like Midsummer?
It's time.
I bet money, dude. I literally will.
Quarter quell.
I was waiting for her to say, "Oh my God, it's Midsummer." It's a really cool arena, but it's everything in that arena is poisonous, even the water. Probably, if I had to say, it looks very much like the Swiss Alps.
That's the 50th.
Or like Midsummer is about like Swedish pagan culture, so it might be there. I mean, I would say probably the Alps. It looks like the Alps. Yeah. Like there's a number of locations, yeah, because like District 12, so District 12 is technically just Kentucky. It makes sense because Kentucky is the coal mining state, right? So definitely there may have been certain parts in there,
I
but
think these games are going to be different.
dude, she already knew that it was Woody Harrelson who said that.
Oh my gosh. 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 Okay, first of all, I have thoughts. I have so many thoughts. They cast this movie perfectly.
Perfectly,
There is
exactly.
a masterclass to be had here in casting based on exactly how people closed their eyes and pictured these characters.
Every
when they
character
were
serves a
revealing- As
purpose.
they were announcing the castings for Sunrise on the Reaping, they did like the cast reveal thing on TikTok too, which was amazing and so interesting to people how they were like unveiling all of this. But everybody almost perfectly predicted who was going to be cast for all of these roles. It was perfect. Like, could not have asked for anything better. I'm so happy with who they ended up casting as Haymitch in his younger years, JosephZada. He hasn't been super well known in Hollywood up to this point, but a lot of people were guessing who they might cast based on larger names like a Rudy Panko, who I think incidentally would have also been a great choice. But I think JosephZada just has like a younger look associated with him than a Rudy Panko does, and it's perfect. Like, truly could be a younger Haymitch.
Yeah, I think he's like 20 and Haymitch is supposed to be 16, so it's not really that bad of a disparity.
As I would have pictured it.
So
In
pretty
this
accurate.
Beautiful, pristine mountain setting with the flowers and the peaks and the volcano and the sunshine. I'm so psyched. I'm gonna need to do a big.
Wait, did she say Midsummer?
Book, to be honest with you, if we're serious about making this happen.
You mind going
They
back?
dropped the
Might have been while we
trailer
were talking,
today.
actually.
With the flowers. It
Wait, go back.
in this exactly as I would have pictured it. In this beautiful, pristine mountain setting with the flowers.
Okay, so she hasn't said it
and
yet.
the volcano and the sunshine.
She was thinking it for
I'm
sure.
So psyched. I'm gonna need to do a big reread of this book, to be honest with you, if we're serious about making this happen. They dropped the trailer today, November 20th, incidentally, because they just announced that the actual movie is coming out on November 20th, 2026. So
Yeah, we have to wait a year, guys. The trailer comes out now, but we gotta wait a year.
This movie, once it comes out next year. I'm so excited. Again, I love The Hunger Games.
It'll be worth
That's
it.
my larger thesis that every single great story throughout all of human history has big government as the bad guys. Interesting how all of that works. And usually it's a ragtag group of teenage kids that are willing to fight to the death. Fight with laying their own life down to secure and preserve freedom for the next generation and the next one after that and the next one after that. And what I loved about this particular book from Suzanne Collins, Sunrise on the Reaping, about Haymitch's Games, which again is the 50th annual Hunger Games. When we meet Katniss Everdeen, it's the 74th annual Hunger Games. So this is a long time ago, before Haymitch was ever their mentor. What I love about this book is it really showed how long it took the seeds to be planted for an actual revolution to take place. We're meeting characters again in the
24 years in the making.
about for years and years and years at this point. Later on, 25 years later, in the midst of the revolution that overthrows the Capitol eventually, where they do restore free and fair elections. They allow people to elect their government representatives. They restore a general sense of human rights again around the entire country of Panem, which previously was the United States of America. But when you're meeting these characters like Plutarch Heavensbee and Effie Trinket and, of course, HaymitchAbernathy, you're meeting them as they're starting to see the need for a legitimate revolution 25 years before it ever even happens. And the steps that they are willing to take throughout that journey to lay the groundwork and the foundation that ultimately will secure freedom for all of the next several generations to come. It's so beautifully indicative of the work that it takes to change culture long term, that it can't just be an overnight process, but it's the work, it's the planning, it's the execution, and it's the consistency that it takes to change a country and to change a people. I think it's so applicable to the world that we're living in right now. I could just freak out. I love The Hunger Games. I love who they cast in
We all do.
I love this author. God, it's so exciting. I will see you, apparently, a year from today in line to watch this movie. Mark my words.
There's definitely going to be. Yeah, what were you saying? That was filmed in the Alps too. That's what I'm saying. It literally reminds me of now that you think about it, the Sound of Music, it does kind of make sense because when Julie Andrews is in the middle of the field, it looks like the Alps, and that's literally where it is because the entire film pretty much takes place in a small town in Austria, which is where the Baron and his children were. Where Julie Andrews, Maria, that's the name of the character, Fraulein Maria, was sent to be their governess. So, but yeah, no, you're absolutely right with that setup. It's literally the same thing. I cannot wait. Like, I mean, she pretty much summed up everything. She didn't say it was Midsummer, like the feel, like the setup, and we were all thinking it. It's like Midsummer in the middle of an arena. That's literally what it is. The only thing that's missing is fire. So, and like, just people dancing around the circle before they kill each other, I guess. But nobody's dancing, I guess, because they're just wanting to get it over with, and like, like only one of us is gonna live, and they're not gonna let us walk out. But she's exactly right. I mean, think about it. Every franchise, at least recently, the majority of them talk about big government and its role on people. I mean, look at Harry Potter. I mean, Voldemort is the villain, yeah, sure, but the Ministry is very corrupt. I actually didn't like a lot of them more so than even Voldemort in some cases. Like Umbridge, absolutely not. Like if it came down to Umbridge and Voldemort, I'm sorry, Umbridge is the worst of them. It's like Umbridge reminds you of that like grade school teacher who like was just an absolute like but you see it with Star Wars, you see it with the Maze Runner, you see it with this. Any type of company, corporate entity, big government, Stranger Things, the labs, yeah, and the government, the people that want the mayor of Hawkins literally was bribed to keep his mouth shut about what was going on in that lab, and Hopper beat the confession out of him because he's like, I know what you're hiding, and you're conspiring with the Russians. Like, please, you better say something. But it's like she said, it's indicative of the times, and we're seeing a lot of people in Washington, in Congress specifically, exhibit a lot of these qualities. Maybe not to the degree of Coriolanus Snow, but definitely in that category with a lot of the mentality of the Capitol. I mean, I can personally relate to District 12 being from Kentucky myself. I mean, that's where I was born and I grew up for some part of my life, and I can tell you, like, if circumstances were different, I'd probably be a coal miner. I probably would, considering that certain parts of Kentucky are kind of like on the downside with how they're handling industry there. And we're kind of seeing it in the news. We're kind of seeing it with just the culture in general. The Appalachian region is one of the poorest areas in the country, next to obviously like areas like Detroit and Flint, Michigan. We're seeing a lot of crime, obviously, in Atlanta and Chicago, but the Appalachian region is exceptionally the poorest part of America, which it stands to reason why District 10, 11, and 12 are the poorest districts. So. Yeah, that's so weird. Why did they release it? I mean, definitely anticipation, but we should expect at least another trailer or two, right? Like just an official, because this is just a teaser. This is not even the official trailer. This is literally just like, I think it was only like, wasn't it like only 2 minutes? I think it wasn't even that long. No, a minute and a half, not even. Yeah, and they only showed like snippets of stuff that happened. Like they showed a lot of footage actually when the games ended. Certain things that looked familiar to me, I'm like, that didn't happen until like the end of the game, unless I'm misinterpreting it. But they wanted to show cast. They showed basically they showed all the District 12 tributes. There was a blonde girl in there who was the runner up to being the victor in the games. Her name is Silka, and she fought Haymitch, and Haymitch actually did not need a weapon to kill her. Actually, he used his wit and his intelligence to outmatch her, and she ended up being her own undoing. That's how he won the games. Certain people have their own strategies. I mean, honestly, kind of the last food for thought is would you win the games? Yes or no? How long would you survive? What would you do? And what would you do to win? That wasn't rhetorical. Like, would you actually, like, if you were in a pit, let's say this, we'll take this game specifically. So if you were in an arena with 47 other people, and let's see, I don't know, where are you originally from? Dallas. Okay. Yeah, so you'd be District 10. Yeah. 10 is livestock, I believe. Yeah, District 9 is grain. District 10 is livestock, yeah. And then District 11 is agriculture. District 12 is coal. Yeah, so you'd be District 10. So imagine 3 other District 10 tributes. And keep in mind, you're still in the poor category because it's 10, 11, 12. You'd have better odds than me, but that doesn't negate the fact that no matter what district you're from, it doesn't mean that your odds are better. It just means that, you still have to kill like a number of people, not to mention avoid 47 people in total. But would you actually win the games? Probably not. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because Haymitch's advice to Katniss was not to go for a weapon because it's literally a bloodbath. Um, the irony in that is that in Catching Fire, the only thing in the cornucopia were the only things in the cornucopia were weapons because they wanted to make sure the games ended early, which they did. Either because of the revolutionary part or because enough people were killed. So, but I think it's just mainly because of the revolutionary part because there wasn't really a technical like solo victor. There were a bunch of people who made it out of there: Joanna, Beatty, Finnick, Katniss, Peeta, and Abaria. Like I think those were the only people who made it out alive. But it stands to reason that this is going to be probably one of the most popular films of next year, in my opinion, if I had to say so. They are going to be competing against bigger films like Avengers Doomsday, I will say. And they've already wrapped up filming for that. So that is what they're competing against. I forgot what other films are there, but Doomsday is definitely going to be a major rival. But luckily, I think Doomsday is going to be premiering before this. So Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping, I feel if they, from what it looks like anyway, it's going to be a great film. It's going to be a very hard pill to swallow though, because it is a lot that happens all at once. But it's supplement to Haymitch's character because Haymitch actually doesn't really drink actually initially, not really. He becomes an alcoholic after the events of this book. If I were to like say like specifically in this video what. Without kind of divulging information, because it's going to be in the movie, yes, but it's also, I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read the book or seen, or just because the movie's not out yet. But I'll just leave it at that. It kind of shows you why Woody Harrelson in the original trilogy is the way he is as Haymitch, but very complex character. He's my favorite character, actually, in the entire franchise. I forgot to mention that, just because of his attitude towards life. And, he's a broken guy, because notice Katniss, she loses her sister. She loses a lot of people. Finnick Odair dies in Mockingjay. Who else? Rue in the first Hunger Games from District 11. Not to mention, when Peeta was taken hostage in the Capitol, but she still had her mother. She still had Gale at the time, anyway, before he went to District 2. And then she always had Peeta, right? But Haymitch, who does Haymitch have? Nobody. Exactly. He has nothing to lose. And that is just the tragedy of his life. That's all I got. Unless you have any last thoughts. Yeah. Well, that being said, guys, don't forget to subscribe. Leave a like if you will. Hit that notification bell. I don't know. I'm just kind of checking all the boxes here that usually gets set at the end of a video. But definitely, I think the most important thing is if you liked the trailer or didn't like the trailer, or want to make a critique, definitely leave a comment below. And we'll see you in the next one. See ya.